Good day everyone, my name is Luis Martinez Tinoy and today I will be explaining chess. Chess is a very complicated game which I will be explaining now. So the first thing I will be talking about today is ELO. ELO is a form or type of rating that measures your skill in numbers. So if you have about 500 to 600 ELO, then you're considered a rookie or a newbie that just started playing chess recently. If you have an ELO of about 1000 to 1100, then you're considered average that played a few matches, won them and lost them evenly. And I personally have 1700 ELO, which is above average, considering that the best player in history, Magnus Carlsen, has about 2800 plus ELO, which is considerably high. To get ELO, you need to at least join a club and win games. It will update monthly, and depending on your wins, it will go up. There's also things like chess online, which you get ELO easily. You just need to win and keep winning until you get a high ELO. So the second thing I will be talking about today are openings. Openings are very essential in chess, considering without an opening, you'll get trapped easily by their opening and lose a lot of materials. So let's get straight into it. So there's a lot of openings that I cannot discuss today, so I'll just be discussing their categories that I know of. There are three categories that I know based on my experience, which is defensive openings, offensive openings, and aggressive openings. So an example of a defensive opening is the great and powerful Sicilian defense, which by the name itself sounds like a defensive opening, but it's actually not. It heavily relies on the first move of the enemy and its side pressure and sharp positioning. It has a lot of variations that I cannot cover today, so I'll just be generally explaining it. If the enemy uses e4 as its first move, then you're free to go and use the Sicilian opening by doing c5 as your first move and doing c4 as your second move. As long as the enemy does not use d4, then you're alright, because if the enemy does use d4, then you use c5 as your opening. It will be facing each other sideways, which is the eating position of the pawn. So the white eats the black pawn and you'll lose material, which is really annoying and hard to come back or get back in early to mid game. An example of a defensive opening is the sneaky King's Indian opening, which you'll be using your horse as its first move, going to f3, horse f3, as long as the enemy doesn't use e4 as its first move. When the enemy uses e4, I use the Sicilian defense, which consists of c5 as his first move. But if the enemy uses d4, then I use the King's Indian defense, which gets positioning quickly and castles quickly. So it's a really defensive opening, and once you castle, you'll start forging a strong defense again and attack in middle game, which I will be explaining later on. If you move your horse to f3 and the enemy uses d4 and e4 and horse move, then oops, my pawn fell, I gotta take it back. And the enemy uses e4, d4 and then horse to the left side, then you just move to e6, pawn to e6 or pawn to d6, which can force a strong defense, and move your horse in the middle so you can take central control in your side. So an example of an aggressive opening is the strong and annoying Ruy Lopez opening. The Ruy Lopez opening is very aggressive, since each and every move of it consists of attacking the opponent. Your first move will be e4, and if the enemy uses e5, which you both pawns will be facing each other and cannot eat each other, then you'll use the move C3, which will be attacking the pawn. First, let me get my board real quick so you'll understand, sir. So this is the board. Example will be here. The other pawn will be here. If I move here, and the other opponent moves here, and I'll take my horse in here, and I'll move it in the L positional way here. So I'm attacking their pawn, so they got to be defended with their other horse, example here, and I'll attack it with my bishop, which I cannot show you because the board is big. So I'll just explain it like this. Once they shoo away your bishop, you just back off, and when he shoos away your bishop again, just back off, making the queen side of the enemy a bit entangled up and a bit annoying for him to face. That's all. No. So 3, 2, 1, go. So that's all I know about openings for now. And about the openings I just discussed, I hope you understand, sir, because I can't fully show the big board I see right here. I can't really like show this because in opening there's a lot of piece, and if I like arrange it, it will be really annoying, and like I can't really show it here. If I do that, it will even reach here, and it will be really annoying for me to fully show it to you when I place the pieces. So I'll just be generally speaking about it, and I hope you understand, sir. 3, 2, 1, go. So the third thing I will be explaining today are the middle game. The middle game are really like hard to play because there are more possible positions in chess than the atoms in the universe. So I'll be explaining it right now. Middle games is like the preparation for endgame, which is the last stage of chess. Endgame is the last stage of chess, which you really need to like think about it in endgame, so you don't make any blunders and easily like lose the game because of the blunder you make, which I will be talking about later, what blunders are and what good moves are. Middle game is a stage where all of your pawns are in the middle, all of your officials are in the middle, your king is castled up, put into safely in either king side or queen side, and the opponent has the same position as yours, you know. Not really the same position, but like the also really prepared. They got all these officials, which I will be talking about later. Officials castle easily, king side or queen side, and it's ready to just brawl. Both of you has choices: trade pieces, and I don't know, trade pieces and like I don't know, maybe you'll lose, maybe he'll lose, or just play it safe, you know, just attack quietly, but you won't trade any pieces, just sneakily go to his king. Also protect your king too. So playing it safe is generally alright, a good option for you to pick, because playing it safe will either be you attacking, you defending, or both of you just do a stalemate by repetitive moves, you know. Just move the king there, move the queen there, move the horse there, and doing it again and again and again until it draws, because you don't know any other good moves, because there's a lot of positions that will happen, and it will really confuse your brain to make a plan on how to attack him successfully without trading pieces, which is playing safe, which is alright generally. It's alright generally. The opponent also can play it safe. Both of you will just attack each other but won't trade, or both of you will just defend and won't trade at all, just making your position better and better and better. But the enemy is also moving his pieces better and getting a better position. And the other option, which is the what's it called again, the trading option, which both of you will just be really aggressive and take pieces of each other, like you just keep eating each other and get pieces, but the opponent will also eat your piece, so you'll just trade pieces. White has a black piece and black has a white piece, which both of you are equal and equal in points, which I will be talking about later. So trading is also a really good option somehow, because trading depends on how your position is being perceived. If you have a better position than him, for example, you have the middle, and the enemy is like defending to not get destroyed in the middle, defending. But you made a blunder. You ate his pawn, and both of your, for example, this is your queen. Both of your queens are facing each other, which have really high points, 9 points. And if the enemy eats your queen and you can't take it back, then you lose. So trading pieces is good, but not good. It just depends on your position. So make sure when you trade, you better think about it before you lose positional value and lose easily. So the middle game's focus is basically just getting central control over the board, or fighting for central control while defending and while attacking the opponent at the same time. It's really complicated because you have to think about the end game and the middle game at the same time, because if you just think about the middle game and the opponent has already planned how end game is gonna go, then you're gonna lose at end game if you successfully go past through mid game. Mid game is like the stage where you need to think the most, because of all the pieces. Both of you still have a lot of pieces, while in main game you have little to, like, pawns left to horse left, which still needs strong thinking, strong planning to win. But middle game has a lot of pieces to use and to defend and to attack, has a lot of pieces to trade. So if you trade first and like lower the pieces, your pieces, the enemy's pieces, you can like more possible like positions away from your brain, because like if you have a lot of pieces, you play it safe, it's gonna be really confusing for you, because while you play it safe and not trading, you'll still have a lot of pieces to move, to defend, to attack, stuff like that. And pawns, the officials, the rook, the king, the queen, you have to defend all of those. You have to attack the queen of the enemy, the pawn, the horse, stuff like that. It's really confusing to explain and to even play it. It takes your brain. Like, it's really confusing to memorize the best moves and memorize the best moves for each position. Is really confusing. So if you have struggles in middle game, just focus in the middle, because it's called middle game for a reason. Focus in the middle and don't blunder any pieces, or the enemy will take your pieces if you blunder it and lose points, and will be really hard for you to take back the points you lost. So that's all I know about middle game, and I hope you understand what I said, sir. Fourth thing I will be talking about today is end game, or the last stage of the game. End game has little pieces to like pawns left. You only have pawns left. You only have horses left. Both of you guys like have equal pieces. Both of you guys are pawns and like queenless, rookless. Of you guys are maybe in the side. Your king is maybe in the side. Your king maybe in the middle. Your king is not protected, okay? Because your king is really needed in endgame. Pawns are also really needed in endgame. If you let me take the board real quick. If your pawn which is the end tile right here, the end tile, then you can promote it to any piece you like except king or pawns. You can make it a horse, you can make it a bishop, you can make it a queen, you can make it a rook, anything you like depending on what position you are. Promoting is really important because if you promote it wrong, you might lose the piece, you might stalemate, and like you can't mate him anymore, you can checkmate him even though you're in a wasting position, or you just waste moves. So promoting is really important, you need time to think about it, so never promote recklessly into a queen or something. So if promoting to a queen is not fitting, you just promote to a rook, promote to a horse, promote to a bishop, and stuff like that. As I said before, endgame has little pieces, few pieces left in the board, so you need time to think about the moves you do. Blundering in this stage is really a bad move. Blunder is already a bad move. If you blunder in early game, you can at least like come back some points if the enemy blunders back. But if you blunder in end game, then there's no coming back because the last stage, there's no afterlife in chess. If you lose, you just lose. You lose your pawn. The enemy eats your pawn. Like you lose your pawn. This is your pawn, and the horse, the enemy horse, eats your pawn. You have no pawn to promote, and you can't make your pawn a queen no more. You can't make your pawn any officials out there. You can't make any of your pawn, and your enemy still has his pawn left. So both his king and his pawn together and promotes to the end, making his pawn a queen, which is 9 points and really strong, and you lose. So never blunder in the end game, and just make like brilliant to excellent moves in the end game. So you might win. You might win. You never know. You're facing Magnus Carlsen in chess. Magnus Carlsen 2.0. That's all I know about end games. End games is really important because some games you might never reach end game. You might just lose in middle game. You might just get checkmated in middle game because you're pretty dumb and you didn't see the enemy attack you, and you lose. You blunder in middle game, you lose. But you blunder in end game, then you already know you're gonna lose because there's no coming back. Your king is the only one left, and the enemy still has a pawn and a horse. So GG's, you just resign. You're just gonna lose. The enemy is always gonna checkmate you, and you're just wasting your time if you keep playing. With only a king left and the enemy still has a pawn, then GG's to you, I guess. So that's all I know about endgame. I hope you understand everything about what I said, sir. Because you might be an average or a really good player in chess. I never know. So let's talk about something different, like not openings, not essential stuff in chess, but like no stages out there, no middle game, no early game, no openings, no end game. Let's talk about something different, like titles. Titles in chess is it's a little bit of like a status. You know, when you get a GM title or the Grandmaster title, the highest title a person can get, which is really hard to get, 2,500 elo and above, and you need to play a lot of tournaments to reach the title, the Grandmaster title. There's only a few Grandmaster title in the entire world. There's 8 billion or maybe 9 billion now, and there's only like a few hundreds, 100 to 200 Grandmasters today, which is really few because out of billions there's only below 200 Grandmasters living today. In history there might be around 500 Grandmasters, I don't know, because nobody was that good before, like 1800s, 1700s. Nobody was that good in chess. Chess is a complicated game, you know. There might be mathematical geniuses before, but there was no chess geniuses before that. Not that much of a grandmaster title. maybe 700 grandmasters in all of history. So enough with the grandmaster glazing. There's also other titles like the FIDE International Master, the FIDE CM, the FIDE IM CM, which is like I think the third most highest title, International Masters, which is the second most highest title, International Masters, which is of like Levi Rosman, the popular chess YouTuber, which I usually watch because he gives nice tips about chess. He gives nice tips about openings, about mid games, about early games, and about end games that I learned. So he's an IM 2300 ELO, which is good because he beats most like 80% of the players in chess. Nobody is that hooked up in chess except geniuses like Magnus Carlsen, maybe Kyle Takamura, and other stuff like that. Nakamura, I mean, other stuff like that. There's CMs. Me personally, I don't have a title because I'm still just an above average player. 1,700 ELO is not that impressive. Maybe rookies find it impressive, but no one above 2,000 finds 1,700 players impressive. You feel me? You just never go up as long as you don't fight stronger opponents. So that's all I know about titles. Statuses, if you get a title, you might just get recognized by players who play chess and be like a YouTuber among a normal crowd, like you get a lot of recognition, you get a high status if you get a title like Grandmaster, and you'll get noticed by a lot of chess players. So the sixth thing I will be talking about today are pieces and points. So I'll be taking pieces right now. There's a lot of like terms of pieces, like officials, maybe queen, maybe king, rook, bishop, and a horse. And pieces, like all of the pieces are really important because each of them has their own individual value. The value of a pawn is just one point, which isn't that important in early to mid, but really important to end game because about the promoting system and all of that. Promoting like the promote in pawn. Pawn is really important in end game because of the promoting system. Officials like the horse and the bishop, these are also really important in early to mid, but not that important in endgame. We can argue that it's also important in endgame, but to me, I don't find it that important because you have significantly lesser pieces in endgame than in middle game. So both of them have 3 points. Both of the horse and bishop have 3 points. And it's also arguable which is more holds more value. I think the bishop is more important than the horse, considering bishop moves in a diagonal movement, so it takes more space, while the horse just moves in a L position. It can jump through pieces, but that's all it does. It's special, but the bishop is more of a sniper, while this is more of a scout type. Jumping through pieces is important if you're a genius like Magnus Carlsen. I don't know who Magnus Carlsen thinks which is more important, this or this. I don't know what his opinion is, but my opinion, I think this is more important. Diagonal lines movement in the diagonal lines is really important because it takes up more space, and you can do some genius pins and genius forks with this. You can also make some genius forks and pins with the horse, but yeah, that's all I say. 3 points, both of them are 3 points. Units or pieces like the rook, for example, have 5 points, and it's arguable that the queen, who has 9 points, is more important than 2 rooks. Let me get to it. It's more important than 2 rooks, which are both of them are 10 points combined, and this is just 9 points. So it's arguable that if like get a black queen, so my black queen right here. If you get a black queen and like you eat both of the rook, you get 10 points, but the enemy also eats your queen and he gets 9 points. It's arguable which is more who holds value, because the movement of the queen is both the rook and the bishop combined. So since the rook moves in a straight line, it's also like the bishop, but it moves in a straight line, which takes more squares because of the position, the square position of the board. It takes more squares than the diagonal bishop. So that's the rook, and the queen moves like a rook and moves like a bishop too. So the queen can move in a square and diagonal lines at the same time. So the queen is really powerful. That's why it's arguable that maybe the queen, in some cases, the queen holds more value than two rooks, but in also in some cases, two rooks hold more values than the queen. So the queen is really important too. However, the king holds no value. It holds no value. Like it moves in a square type, you know. And let me get my board real quick. This is your chessboard. This is your chessboard, average chessboard. You get your king, example, in here in the middle, not really in the middle, right here. The king can move, the king can move about here. The king can move in a square shape, but it can never move more than 2 tiles. It can move square shape, and the reason why it holds it, depending, it might hold 0 value or it might hold infinite value, because if your king gets eaten, which is an illegal move, no, you never eat a king, it's just a checkmate. If the king gets eaten, you lose the game, or the king gets checkmate, you lose the game. Because an example of a checkmate is right here. Let me get 2 rooks in here. See this board, these 2 rooks right here, 2 rooks are in here, and your king is at the back end of the chessboard. So both of this rook, if the king moves here, it's also a check. You know, you can eat the king, which you never eat the king because it's an illegal move. If you like, example, the position is right here. You know, before the checkmate, the position is right here. So you check here, here. Oops! Stop falling, man. Right here. The king is right here, right? You give a check. It's threatening to eat the king because its movement is a square line, straight line movement. So the king moves here. You give a check again using the rook, and the king moves here. You checkmate the enemy, which is you just win because you move right here using the rook, and there's no more move for the king to escape to, because it has 2 moves. And you lose, because if you move right here, then your king gets eaten and you lose again. So now that you understand the concept of like checkmate and checks and stuff like that, the pieces, the points, let's move on to moves. Moves are so basic, you know. When you move chess, like when you say moving chess, you don't move. When you move a chess, the pieces move, not you. For example, when I make a move, So I make my pawn move here. I make my pawn move here. That's a move. But there's also stuff in chess moves which is called brilliant moves. There are brilliant sacrifices. You sacrifice your piece for a winning position or a checkmate. You sacrifice your piece to eat a bigger piece because of the point system, and you win more points or you just win the game. So there's also stuff like blunders where let's make a position about blunders. And a pawn here, no, and a pawn right here. Both pawns move straight, but they eat diagonally. Pawns move straight and they eat diagonally. So I take a rook right here, and I take a queen right here, rook right here, and I take a queen right here. Oh, oops, rook. I hope you can understand the position. The queen and the rook is facing each other, and it's white's move. So if white moves and eats the pawn, which he gets a point, but it's actually a blunder because since you ate the pawn was here. It's blocking the king, the rook and the queen. It's blocking its rook. It's blocking for the rook because if it was never there, then the queen can eat the rook. You understand? You understand, sir? Like since he ate the black pawn, the queen can eat the black rook, and you lose more points because the black rook, as I said before, is 5 points, while the pawn is just a measly 1 point, a 1 point piece. So since you ate and opened up the file, the C file, since you opened the C file, then boom, you lose more points than me. So that's called a blunder or a mistake or a miss. Blunders typically make you just lose the game, while mistakes or misses is when you miss eating a piece which can make your game worse. So this here, this it's your move, but you move your pawn. And instead of taking the rook, you just move your pawn, which is a brainless move. So the enemy eats your queen and is significantly winning 9 points. This is 9 points, and you just ate your queen because you moved your pawn. That's a miss because you had the chance to eat his rook. So there's also stuff like mistakes, which is like a lesser and maybe better version than blunders. Blunders make you lose the game, but mistakes is also a bad move. But at least it's not a blunder where you just lose the game completely. Mistakes you can still win the game if the other person makes a mistake too. So mistake is what I explained earlier. White pawn is the black pawn, but white pawn is the black pawn. But in this version, since it's just a mistake, here the black pawn is the white pawn, and since the file is open, a file is a row of tiles. So the rook can just really eat the bishop, but since it's just a bishop, it's only has 3 points and holds a value of 3 points, then it's just a mistake, not that much of a blunder, because you can still come back from it. Maybe he did make the mistake, bishop was protected by another rook, and since you ate his bishop, it's not it's a mistake for you because you ate his bishop and his bishop was protected by another rook. So the rook, it's the other rook, and you lose more points than what you ate. Feel me? Like you lost 3 points. You ate 3 points, but you lost 5 points. So the opponent got two more points than you. So it's like the opponent eating 2 pawns from you and you ate nothing. That's basically how mistakes work. That's my quote, sir. I hope you understand what I said. I'm sorry for not really showing the board right here and just showing the half of it, not really like expanding it because I have no space. I'm not recording this in a laptop. I'm not recording this in like a super advanced camera. I'm just recording this in another phone. This is my phone. That's my other phone. That's it, sir. That's all I have to say, and I hope you understand my chess lesson. Have a good day.